What up, everybody? What up, what up, what up? And it's the MICCASTERJ. That's me, the Mike Caster. And we're back with another episode of T.T.P. Right? And as promised, we're going to get into the nature of preparation, right? We're now in a moment where everything is kind of underlying and coming to a halt, and it's starting to manifest itself, right? And we get to the point where Noah comes in and God starts preparing Noah for something big, right? So we all know the story of Noah. We all know, following him. And we've gotten to this point where we know the story so much, and church has emphasized the story so much that we made the story about Noah. The story is not about Noah. It's about God, right? And God's persistence, right? God's commitment, right? God's plan, his preparation, as we mainly talked about, his preparation to turn around and separate a situation that was made in the beginning, right? His plan to start undoing a process that has started to make his creation sick, right? And it just so happens that Noah is the guy to start this process, right? So our title is The Next Step is to Prep. And in and out of as we're talking to this, right? We're going to talk about this in a different way, right? We're going to shine the light on God rather than Noah and talk about how God in Genesis 6 is working, right, through this process to prep something that will ultimately separate us from what is starting to corrupt us in Genesis 6, right? So get ready, get set, get prep, because we're in it once again right here on T.T.P. We're back. So Genesis 6, there's a couple things that I want you guys to see, right? We're going to open up your situational awareness in this chapter, right? And if this video looks a little bit different, it's because I'm on an assignment. So it's not going to look how it usually looks, where it's like full and all the stuff like that. It's going to look a little bit slightly, but it's okay. We make it work. So one thing to notice is our divinity is dying, right? In 6:3, the Spirit of God is not present within us. You don't got to know Hebrew. You don't got to overanalyze and break down the context in a million ways to to get the gist of what that is. We are losing our lifespan, right? So, it all makes sense because later on, Jesus giving us eternity is God restoring, right, a gift we had access to at one time, separated from our corrupted bodies when we were untainted, right? So it's so funny because in 6, we are completely losing this lifespan. Like it's over with. Like our life is shortening. Like all this stuff is starting to happen, right? We are completely way below the divinity we once had. 2, we are deforming, right? Our nature is shifting. 6:5 in Genesis chapter 6, right? We are unrecognizable to God. Like God no longer acknowledges us as a creation. God is scratching his head. Like, and when I say scratching his head, it's not like God's confused or God doesn't know anything but God is bothered. Like it's apparent that we are far from what God intended, right? The other nature of it is the other entities of sinful nature are taking place. like greed and envy, right? We're starting to be corrupted by something else that's also present, that's also there, that wasn't there before, and it's infecting us, right? And this is important for you to understand because we're gonna dive into this, right? The third thing is God's presence is moving from us, right? 6:3, we are no longer abiding in the spirit, right? Man is indulging the ecstasy, right? Or don't think of ecstasy in a very sexual way, right? Ecstasy, an overwhelming feeling of great happiness or joyful excitement of sin. And man is feeling an ecstasy of sin, right? We're indulging it. We're deep in it. Like when you're reading 6, just sorry, I had to sneeze. When you're reading 6, the most vile people. Man, somebody talking about me. That's okay. The most vile people, right? Just put them in that image, and that's what's going on in 6. Right? And then 4. This word pops up, right? Gibor, right? Gibor is the Hebrew word, right? Heroes, right? But translation is not in the form that we know, right? It's not Superman coming with a cape. Wee! Like, the real translation is mighty men, right? So idolization, we got this thing where there's these guys who are appearing and they're seemingly larger than life, right? They're being worshipped as these are the top status guys, right? And they're referred to as mighty men, or as translation would change it to later on, heroes, and they're not, right? So this is a form of idolization that takes root in 6:4. Another thing to also notice in the text is the Hebrew word Shem, right? Which in some translation refers as renown or is actually name, right? So we don't have the name of these individuals who are mighty men, right? They're not important. We just know that they're idolized in the way society is right now. And they're being looked at as a pinnacle of this corrupted society that's forming, right? And the weird thing is, why do you think these individuals don't get named in the Bible, right? Well, if we look at it, the Lord saw how great the wickedness of the human race had become on earth, and that every inclination of the thoughts of the human heart was only evil all the time, right? Now, in no way, shape, or form of anybody who ever was inspired by the Bible, anybody, any of your heroes inside the Bible, from Moses to anything like that, were perfect, right? But they all had a major component, and that was God was able to attach to them and ultimately change them in a way that was not only impactful to them, but impactful to others, right? These people do not have that. All right. So one thing that's really important to understand is they do not have it. It is not present, right? This is not Seth's line. Like, these people are far beyond, right? This is not the original like 10 monarchs that we were talking about before, and like before the flood and all the stuff like that. Like, these people are far from that, right? They are infected, and their thoughts are not in the ways of God at all, right? So we also get this thing where they're intermingled with this other entity that is separate from man, right? And that is the sons of God, meaning the fallen angels, right? People have thought of it to be sons of Seth, but further research and context would mean the fallen angels. So these are a certain class of angels that will later on be put in a pit because they tabooed and broke a very major law that Jesus goes into later on in Matthew, right? Where angels are not supposed to intermix, right, with human beings. So, Matthew 22:30, when Jesus says angels in heaven who cannot marry, right? Jesus is confirming the existence of angels and then talking to the Sadducees, right? And is letting them know that they're not supposed to intermix. So at the resurrection, people will neither marry nor be given in marriage. They will be like angels in heaven. So they're not supposed to intertwine. And these angels said, bump that. We're going to do that. We're going to do what we want. So in turn, it's forming something different altogether that is just not, it's an abomination. This is the best way I could put it, right? And even the text describes it that way, right? It gives us clear distinction that these manner of men were something different altogether. Something of slight divinity, but just not exalting that light, right? If you hear the whoosh sound, that's the AC. So that's important to know why the Bible doesn't even bother to mention these people, right? Another thing is, what is your thoughts on this, right? So Genesis 6:6, and it repented the Lord that he had made man on earth, and it grieved him at his heart. So that sentence has been a playbook in the atheist field, right? That God felt he made a mistake. Oh, God made a mistake. God didn't know what he was doing. All that stuff like that. Like that's, it's been quoted to actually turn around and do and be used as an argument. But let me help you out, right? That is not what that means. The Hebrew word used here is yenahim, right? From the root word nacham, and that word is exclusively about emotions, a feeling of pain, sadness, or unhappiness, right? To further give you context, God is grieving, right? God is seeing this and God is grieving because his creation is dying, right? There is no light in it. Sin is corrupting it. Darkness is overtaking it. Sin is dying. I mean, his creation is dying, right? And that is saddened because God calls us his ultimate creation. God put everything he had into this and he's watching it die, right? It's dying, it's suffering. He's watching us suffer, right? And he's understanding, even in that moment, that the prophecy needs a Messiah. In order for that to happen, there needs to be a semblance of God's spirit dwelling, right? So right now, God is understanding that if God doesn't re-exert back his presence, his world is lost, right? So God has a drastic plan at first to restart the whole world, right? But finds the existence of light in the world and preserves that, right? Because, you know, as you read further on in Genesis, or you read the story in like, Abe, God is very big on not perishing those who abide in him, right? He's not going to perish someone who's good, right? So we see that. We already see that implemented here. Noah is the first example of that, right? So the Lord said, I will destroy man whom I have created from the face of the earth, both man and beast, and the creeping thing, and the fowls of the air, for it repenteth me, that I have made them, but found grace in the eyes of, but Noah found grace in the eyes of the Lord, right? So God was going to destroy everything, and then saw Noah, right? So again, it's here these contexts, right? Repenteth, again, it's grieving, right? God is saddened. God is not feeling he made a mistake. It's very important to know that you can grieve without feeling like you made a mistake, right? It's just a reflection. And God is saddened by the suffering of his creation, right? But then sees Noah and is immediately rejoiced. And all it took was one person. Like, think about that. Everything is corrupted, and all it took was one. I need you to hear that. And all it took was one person abiding in God to cause God to rejoice, to have faith restored back in the light, right? One. I like really reflect back on that. Play this video back and hear that part again, man. One. It only took one. Anyway, let's continue, right? So things about Noah, right, to understand off the back. Noah was willing to challenge himself following God, right? I need you to understand that when God asked this man to make this boat, Noah's a farmer. Noah's not a carpenter. Noah's not an engineer. None of that. Noah was a farmer, right? And so God telling Noah to build a ship was definitely out of his comfort zone, right? The other thing that's important to understand about Noah when it comes to him and his relationship with God is God would supply, right? So the measurements God gave Noah for this boat were equivalent to that of the Titanic, right? That is a lot of wood. That's a lot of resources. That's a lot of labor, right? So where did he get the resources from, you guys? All right. Noah was already pretty up there in age. And he only had two, from what my understanding was two, maybe three sons. There's two sons. Yeah, it's two sons. So again, put two and two together, right? The other thing to understand is that God trusted Noah completely, right? And when I say that, I mean that backwards. I mean that Noah believed in God, which then caused God to utilize Noah further, right? To push his potential further, which is why he can turn around and build a boat, why he got the resources, why he was able to turn around and do this without any questions asked, right? The spirit was already abiding in him, right? Because Noah just let it. It just flew. It just flowed. So God told him to the extent he was given access knowledge without it being withheld, right? God even establishes later on the covenant with Noah, right? So God gives him access, right? Because Noah gave him access. So as you permit God more into your life, God permits more of the blueprint for your life to you, right? It's an equal exchange, which is amazing because God is the creator. Does not have to do that. God does not owe you an explanation, right? So the other thing here to understand is covenant in Latin is convene, right? Meaning a coming together. So it proposes two or more parties who come together to make a contract, agreeing on promises, stipulations, privileges, and responsibilities, right? A barrett, a bond. A covenant refers to two or more parties bound together, right? And the other thing to understand when it comes to this moment, right, is Noah was obedient, right? Now, I said beforehand, I asked you a question in the other TikTok, and the question was, what are you doing to prep? Now, I let you ponder about that, but I'm about to help you out because I said it, and if you were paying attention, you would have heard it, right? So the things you need to do to prep for what God has for you is be prepared to challenge yourself, right? Utilize God as a resource, right? The word, source yourself, nourish yourself, your mind, your spirit. You need to, right? Because there is always going to be conflict and battles in the midst of this, right? Trust God, right? And as you trust God, God will reveal more to you. God cannot reveal nothing to you with blind eyes, right? If you are not trying to see, how are you going to know, right? When I say see, I mean hear, right? With your spirit, right? Not with these are physical, right? Yeah, we need to come to an understanding that the spiritual realm requires a different level of focus that cannot be seen here in this plane, right? And you access that through the Holy Spirit. So, and the other thing is be obedient, right? Understand that with this preparation, with what God is building for you, it's going to come change. It's going to come tasks that you might not want to do. There's going to come things that might be out of your comfort zone. So you got to be prepared to move through that and give it your all regardless, right? Follow without question. And Noah was willing to do that. And that preparation ultimately not only led to Noah's family being saved, not only led to those associated with Noah being saved, it led to us being saved the first time, right? Because God's ready to destroy it all. So Noah became the official bloodline for what later bring forth the Messiah, what later lead to the saving of us. Like, it's a pinnacle moment, right? Because I downplayed Noah, but I want to downplay Noah. I don't want to put him too high, but I want to downplay him either, right? Like, think about that. Just letting God use him made him a pivotal point, a shifting point for a lot of people, including Jesus, the birth for Jesus, right? All these events that will later spiral later on, right? So, again, be obedient. Let God use you, right? And stay prepared. So, that's all I got this time. This has been another Trust Plus, and I will catch you again later. All right? On T.T.P. Peace.